there has been a historic heat wave through this week, not only across the UK, but also across parts of Europe in particular. Across France, there has been a very prolonged heat wave through this week, and that's all been thanks to this area of high pressure that's caused subsidence, a heat dome, to form over parts of Europe, and that's now pushed into the UK. But over the rest of this week and into the weekend, that area of high pressure is set to push further eastwards. So that heat will transfer to more eastern areas of Europe. So although it's turning cooler for parts of France and Belgium, eastern areas of Europe are set to break further records for this time of year for June into next week, with temperatures set to rise to 40 degrees here. But meanwhile, for the UK, you can see the Atlantic weather returns. We've got fresher air moving in across the UK by Sunday. This weather front marks the change from this hot to much cooler weather across the UK by Sunday. So it's still going to be hot in the southeast on Saturday, but by Sunday you will notice a difference. And that's all thanks to the jet stream that's going to be driving a series of low pressure systems through our early part of next week up from across the Atlantic, up across the UK. Now notice we've still got high pressure down to the south and west of the UK. This is the Azores high, and that will likely remain pretty close to the UK through much of next week, bringing an influence to the weather, particularly across southern areas. Meanwhile, these areas of low pressure driven by this area of the jet stream will continue to develop and likely push up to parts of the northwest. So we're looking at wetter weather predominantly across more northwestern areas, a more mobile, changeable theme to our weather. In the south and west in particular, it could be a little bit drier, and across the southeast too, drier weather. We're not looking at a huge amount of rain actually across more southern areas through next week, but I think we'll see more of that Atlantic air, so temperatures will start to fall away. Let's take a look at the temperatures through the next few days. So through Friday, today, we are expecting temperatures to rise to 37, 38 degrees across eastern areas. There is still a red extreme heat warning in force through today. There's an amber extreme heat warning in force for Saturday across eastern areas. Temperatures are still set to be 32, 33 degrees, still very hot. And as it's coming after another warm night tonight, and the very hot weather we've had this week, we're likely to see further impacts. That's why we've still got that warning. But across the west, temperatures are in the high teens in the far northwest, as they have been through much of this week, in fact. But across the west, parts of Wales, Western England, Northern Ireland, much of northwestern England, and much of Scotland, the low 20s and the higher 20s as we look further east. On Saturday, Sunday, that's when we get the fresher air, temperatures much closer to average for the time of year, and Monday a similar theme. So you can see that through the next part of next week, temperatures remain in a pretty similar vein once we see that change on Sunday. They're going to be hitting sort of 25 degrees, I'd say, as a max throughout much of next week. So it's still actually quite warm for the time of year. It's certainly cooler than it has been, a good 10 degrees cooler across some areas, so it's going to make a difference, but it is staying quite warm really in the south and east, and as I said, not particularly wet, but I think for much of the UK there's going to be a lot of relief from the heat, and the humidity will come down as well. It's a similar story for the nighttime temperatures as well. It's not until Monday really in eastern areas where temperatures actually fall. By Monday morning, temperatures actually fall below 20 degrees overnight. So it's still going to be pretty warm and muggy across eastern areas overnight through this weekend. You won't really notice the difference overnight until Sunday night into Monday morning. But for most of us, yeah, temperatures closer to 13 degrees to start the day by the start of next week. So certainly a bit of relief from this heat that has been very prolonged throughout this week and broken several records for June. It has been truly exceptional and caused major impacts. But the pressure pattern, as I showed you through next week, we're set to see those low pressure systems up to the north and west, higher pressure down to the south and west, and that's all thanks to the Azores high pushing in. So by the time we get to next weekend, Saturday the 4th of July, how do things stand? Well, it's most likely the highest chances for the Azores high to be dominating our weather in some respect, but it really depends on the position of that as to what that really means. So it's likely to dominate the weather across more southern areas. That means dry weather continuing, cooler weather across more northern areas, but there are chances that that high pressure could be more dominant across the whole of the UK. So does that mean we'll see the return of any of the heat? Well, I think after we've had two now significantly hot spells to our weather already, not just in the summer, we saw a late heat wave in May as well, and late spring. Well, through the next 2 weeks, temperatures are set to fall away, much lower than they have been recently. This is for somewhere across southern, and this is sort of close to London. Here we go. So you can see temperatures will be falling away throughout this weekend into the start of next week, much closer to average, still in the low 20s, mid 20s at times. And then there's a good deal of uncertainty through the next 2 weeks as to how much the temperature will vary. We've got the maximum temperature peaking here and the minimum temperatures here. So maximum temperatures still showing the absolute max close to the higher 20s by parts of next weekend if we see that high pressure more dominant. Further north, there's more confidence, less of a spread in that data. The maximum temperature is still only around the high teens. We're likely to see more unsettled low pressure systems dominating the weather across the north, so more cloud, more rain, less of that heat, but we could see that high pressure becoming more dominant across the UK. So is that the end of summer? Well, I think there's a good chance we will see further hot spells throughout the next few months.